We'd like to speak to Bradley Bowman, Senior Director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Welcome, Mr. Bowman. How important are these in strategic terms, are all these new announcements that we're hearing, especially from the new U.S., especially the new headquarters in Poland, a permanent force over there that Mr. Biden is talking about, more troops for Eastern Europe. How important is that from a strategic level?
Thank you for the opportunity to join you, and thanks for the question. You know, I think these summits, these declarations are very important. Because it serves as a forcing function for negotiations to occur, agreements to be concluded, and to be announced, because a lot of this is about deterrence. Moscow and Beijing are watching, and they're seeing what these heads of state, these 30 heads of state say, and more importantly, what they do. And so a lot of really positive announcements. The devil will be in the details on these, like when we talk about strengthened military posture in Eastern Europe. You know, what type of military units, what readiness levels, what deployment timelines, what countries will be providing those forces, lots and lots of questions. And we know that a lot of European capitals have struggled just to spend 2% of their GDP on defense. Even in the new report released this week, 20 European capitals are still not spending 2% on GDP. So you're going to have a hard time spending more if you can't even meet the current standard.
Oh, yeah, putting the money where the mouth is.
Yes.
What about the fact that you used to fly Black Hawks and other helicopters? You were an advisor in the U.S. Senate. You know what you're talking about. What about Ukraine's president telling NATO during their meeting, during the summit, saying that he'd like to see security guarantees? What do you think about that?
Well, you know, the essence of NATO is in the North Atlantic Treaty codified in Washington in 1949 is Article 5, an attack against one is attack against all. And that's the primary reason countries like Ukraine and Georgia would like to be in NATO, because it gives them those security guarantees. So if I were him, I would be asking exactly for that. But I think we're not going to see Ukraine as a member of NATO anytime soon.
Okay, and then finally, briefly, the NATO now saying that they want this force structure of 300,000 troops across the NATO countries being ready in a state of readiness. But what about the fact that, as you said, that this 2% of GDP, we've only got about a third of those 30 countries that have committed so far. They've promised this for years. Well, what's the likelihood that they will come up with that money?
You know, I think NATO is a leading grand strategic asset for the United States, and a leading reason why we have relative transatlantic stability. But, you know, as you said, we got to put our money where our mouth is. A lot of laudable statements coming out this week from this summit. But, you know, we only have, as I said, 20 countries are still not even spending 20% of their GDP on defense. And so if they're going to resource and fund all these new commitments, we're going to have to see that change, and change fast.